Welcome to the 12 Days of Christmastide. My name is Sidney Edwards, and I am a first-person interpreter of the enslaved at Locust Grove. And today we're going to do a little talk about the enslaved experience, or interpreter enslaved experience at Locust Grove. I've got two very special people with me today. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, I'm Xavier. I'm also an interpreter at Locust Grove. I play the character of Alfred, who was an enslaved there at Locust Grove, and was also participated in the Christmastide along with Sidney.
And I'm Caisey Cole. I am also an interpreter. I am kind of finding my groove, so I don't have a character just yet, but I did third-person interpretation at Christmastide in 2019.
Awesome. And to double back, I play Rose. That's my character at Locust Grove. So the three of us have some Christmastide experiences. Xavier and I did Christmastide together in 2018, and Caisey got to do it in 2019. So since we can't be together in person this year, we decided to do some virtual reflections and remembering some of the times that we spent together. Guys, does anything come to mind?
I think when we did the Christmastide in 2018, it was definitely an experience cooking in the kitchen the way that they did back then, and how much time, it takes time in modern days, but it took time back then, and like having to really prep the fire and the food and making I think we did an apple pie, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Let me see, we
did
the apple
did.
pie and the stew in the kitchen, straight from scratch, completely from scratch, and it came out good, but it took some time. So, but that was probably one of my favorite experiences making that.
I remember a few things. One, I remember being there all day, right? This is Christmas night. We were in that kitchen all day. I remember it being cold, except for the fire. So there was like a balance of like, I'm going to be next to the fire. I'm not going to be next to the fire, right? And I think one of my favorite things about that, we were in character. And before that, I didn't get a lot of opportunities to do my interpretation with another person that's interpreting an enslaved person. So the dynamic that we were able to build meant a lot to me, to be able to talk to somebody else and have someone to bounce things off of made me a lot more comfortable in the space because I didn't feel like all the pressure was on me, right? We did. The apple pie was great. The funny thing is, apple pie is actually like one of my personal holiday traditions. So to do it in a different way was really interesting, and I was surprised by how good it turned out. I really was. Caisey, what were some of the dishes you guys made? Were you in the kitchen the whole time too, or how'd it go for you?
Actually, when I showed up, it turns out that the chimney wasn't working properly or something. Some part of the exhaust system was not working properly. So we had to open the window and it was even more cold. So and I'm sure that's something that, they experienced in real time. So I was like, okay, well, this is just going to get more visceral. And our menu was pretty extensive because we had I not only had another enslaved interpreter with me, but I had two folks from Indiana as well that came by to help out. And from what I remember, we made chicken stew. We had a whole rotisserie chicken. And we did sweet potato pie. And we also had those sugared cherries, those candy cherries.
Oh, y'all were fancy.
They were so good. We were just eating those the entire time. And I was in charge of the dairy aspect and just, making butter, and the butter would just not there was no way. And it finally was around the end of the day, I think maybe like 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock, I don't know, when I finally had some butter. So it was a bunch of memorable experiences all around, but so many people were fascinated with what we were making, and we had a full menu. But I can only imagine that it would have been much bigger with the house in full bloom, like with everybody in there. So
yeah, I'm pretty sure you made more than me and X did. Me and X, we tried.
We did our best. It came out good though. It came out good. The two things we made. I think we had like the sweet like, didn't we have like the skins, but it was already there, I think, in the kitchen. The little
Yeah.
sweet skins. Yeah, fruit skins.
Yeah. We talked about all the food we would have made.
Yeah.
Something would have made. Oh, there's so many options too. I didn't know that you can make so much like within that time frame, because we were done before the end of the night and before, you know, everyone would have celebrated. So like, dang, that's
Awesome.
a lot.
I think one of the, I don't want to say intense, but like most notable things I will say about Christmastide is, you know, people come to Locust Grove, and it is a tradition at Locust Grove, and they come, and I think before we got there, people were expecting to come to the house and experience the party that the family is having, and that experience and that joy that they're having in the house, right? But then they come out to the kitchen and they see us working, and it's a very different Christmas experience than what is happening in the house with the family. And I think us being there really adds that dose of reality of what was really happening at the time. Like, yes, this is a joyous time, this is Christmas, but here are the people that are making it possible for all of that to happen, right? And how do you guys feel about that? I feel like it was not like we were a Debbie Downer, right? But it was a very, very important fact for them to know. What do you guys think?
Honestly, at this point, common sense. Like, I don't think that today, you know, it's such a big part of tradition, especially with Thanksgiving, to like make your own food and things like that. But with all that food being made, I think that it's very easy to either relegate it to women's work or to who was working on the plantation at the time. And so it would make a little bit more sense to see the full experience and see, because it's a working plantation, this is what was happening when everyone was working like this, when everyone's working together too, because there's also enslaved in the house as well, setting the table and, you know, being a part of it. They're actively always a part of it, ingrained. So it's necessary to see what gets done behind the scenes that we do today, but only with like the convenience of modern technology, because otherwise all that food would not get cooked. At least I don't think so. With how much time I took with it, I don't think it would have got cooked.
Yeah, I think like being able to come in and view the other portion, as we could say, of like the enslaved part, and where all of this stuff, the food and the wood and all these things that were part of this celebration, where it got prepped, and who literally has really the backbone of everything that was being made and created, that you see sitting in front of the dinner table, right? And I think it is just like you said, a dose of reality, you know, that is needed for people to come in. And definitely when visitors were coming and interacting, you could tell the ones who already knew and were, you know, and were kind of embracing that fact, and then those that it did make uncomfortable too, to be in this area seeing the enslaved working here, and those who would be wanting to ask questions and might be a little hesitant towards talking to us or asking certain questions, but then us having to kind of being able to be those people to come and be like, yeah, this is true, this is what was going on around this time, whether it was in character or third person. And just allowing people to sit with that, you know, and accept that was history. You know, that was history. That's how it went. And of course, times are changing, times are moving, but it's always good to remember your history and know where you came from. And then that way you can change the future.
Yeah, I think even just going back to what Caisey was saying, I completely agree with you, X. While it makes sense, right, for them to see us there, I think it's important to note that a lot of historical sites obviously weren't doing that until recently. Right? It was a part of the story that was being covered up.
Yeah.
So I really commend Locust Grove on all of their efforts to really highlight this part of our history.
Yeah.
Some of the questions I remember getting asked were less like technical questions about what we're doing, but were questions that required me as an actor to kind of merge that fact research with interpretation and imagination, right? So there were questions about like, well, what are you going to do after you cook? Or what is your family doing right now? And those things that kind of really force you to think on the spot. Do you guys remember getting any questions like that?
No, not on my end. But I think, well, I had a couple of, how does it feel to be doing this, especially around the holidays, things like that. And honestly, for me, I was like, I'm going home after this. Like, I'm going home. Because I'm doing third person, I'm not necessarily even doing first person like you guys did. And so I felt more like I could be more conversational with the guests and really just be like, well, I personally am going to go home and have my own version of Christmas. And then I realized, I'm like, I wonder, now it makes me wonder, like, what a Christmastide in an enslaved household felt like, because we still had our families and we still had our family units and things. So I wondered what that would be like, and how that could be featured as well. Because I'm sure that there was religious significance, especially after a while, to them. So I'm super excited about maybe thinking about something about that. But otherwise, the guests that I had were really interested in the food.
Yeah.
They were really interested in the recipes and how much time it took and things like that. And so I got a little bit more of the technical side of the questioning and a little bit of the experiential side. So I'm sure it differed between us.
Yeah, because I feel like people with us, they might have talked about the food to kind of avoid talking about like the actual situation that was happening. We got a lot of feeling questions. I remember like, how do you feel? How does it feel to so-and-so? And I also kind of felt like, not pressure, but like we're here and we're working in this capacity to kind of moderate what my answers were, instead of being like, I'm angry or, I'm sad. Like, I kind of lean towards disappointment, I guess. X, did you ever remember getting that question, or how would you answer that question? It's a tricky one, right?
Yeah, I think like with Alfred, when we got questions specifically about how do you feel, even if they're not asking me specifically as Xavier, as the actor, but even Alfred himself, like, well, how do you feel about being in this position as an enslaved? And me thinking back to Alfred and what he would probably say is, even what a lot of enslaved would say then, is that I don't really know. This is, it's kind of like, this is where my life. Some slaves were born in this position. They were born here, and so they don't really have necessarily a detest to it, but also they don't have an elation to it either. So it's kind of like, well, this is what I've known as Alfred. Me speaking as Alfred, it's like, this is what I've known. I don't I don't see it as really being right, but this is also the life that I had and what I was born into. So I feel like this is what I have to continue as, right?
Right. I think that is an excellent way to explain it. Yeah, for sure. I think one of my favorite things about that time, because me and you were together, were the jokes that we kind of had to have between each other and the lightheartedness. So I think we played this this joke. Was either like, you didn't know what you were doing and I was always picking at you, or it was something like that.
It's like Alfred be here helping me, but Alfred sometimes he don't really be knowing exactly what goes where and what happens. And I was just like, yeah, I'm a hand. I help with the manual labor. I don't know. I'm just here for the day.
Right. And then he would give me that, why are you telling me what to do? Look. And it was just, we just had a lot of fun between each other. So there's moments of enjoyment in there for sure. I definitely enjoyed it.
Yeah, definitely. I remember the celebration is good. I think definitely understanding that it's not also that enslaved did have celebration also while they were there, whether it was among their own families and things like, whether it's they're celebrating whatever time they may have assumed that they were born, or whatever time that the songs and, the songs that we have now that came from, the Negro spirituals and into the blues and into jazz music. And, and that's where those came from, celebration. Right. And so they did have their moments of finding their hope, their faith, their happiness, even in those times.
For sure. I think especially now that we're growing the program the way we are, so it would be so awesome for us one day to get together and explore what a Black family does for the holidays. Like, I know that we're building like the enslaved quarters and everything. What a valuable addition I think that could be for the future. For sure. Cool.
It was wonderful joining you guys.
Oh, Caisey, I can't hear you.
Oh, Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes.
I said I agree with you, but also it was wonderful joining you guys, at least for a little bit of Christmas.
Yeah. I'll be making an apple pie for you guys.
Oh, I'm going to be making a blueberry, I think.
X, what you got?
So honestly, y'all want some orange chicken? I could hook up some orange chicken in there. I don't know. We might be able to make a lemon icebox pie. Maybe we'll see how that goes.
Bring it on. Bring it on. Awesome. Guys, thank you so much for joining me today. And Merry Christmas to you both.
Yes, Merry Christmas. Happy
Merry
holidays.
Christmas. Happy holidays
Merry Christmas
to all.
everybody out there.
Merry Christmas tide.
Christmas tide.